Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Eileen, and today we will be going over potential change orders and change orders inside of Red Team Go. We will be giving everyone a few minutes to join. I do want to remind you if at any time during our webinar today, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat function inside of Zoom, and I will get to your questions. Again, welcome to everyone that's joining, and we'll be starting in just a few moments, giving everyone a few more minutes to join. And again, if at any time during our session, if you do have any questions, please feel free to use the chat function inside of Zoom. And if you prefer to not use the chat function, you can always raise your hand and I can take you off of mute, allowing you to speak. All right, we're going to get started, everyone. Okay. All right. Again, my name is Eileen. I'm here to walk you guys through today's training webinar. We will be going over potential change orders and change orders inside of Red Team Go. Again, if you have any questions at all during today's webinar, please feel free to use the chat function. All right. Okay. So we'll be going over what's the difference between a potential change order versus a change order. We will also touch on how to create a change order, how to request vendor pricing for that potential change order. We'll touch on how to submit the PCO and then how we can create a change order from the potential change order. All right. So again, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to use the function, the chat function. Right. So first I'm going to go into my project and we will navigate over here to our changes menu on the left-hand side. Okay. Now you can see when we open up the changes menu, we do have PCOs, which are potential change orders, and we have the change orders menu. Now the difference between a PCO and a change order is that PCO is not a change order. Okay. I cannot submit it to my owner to sign. Even if my owner does approve my potential change order, that's not going to show up as a change order unless I convert it to one to then populate on their billing. Now, with a potential change order, you are able to request pricing from your subs or vendors. That is something that you are unable to do in a change order. Okay. Another big difference between PCOs and change orders are PCOs can be converted to change orders and approved in any order. That's not the case with change orders. Okay. Change orders have to be approved in order. You've got 5 change orders. Change orders 4, 3, 2, and 1 need to be approved before the owner can approve change order 5. Okay. I know how it goes on site. Owners very rarely approve their change orders in order. So I recommend to all of my clients, create a PCO. Another advantage of PCOs are you can stack multiple PCOs and combine them into one change order if you'd like. Okay. So we will go over how to create a PCO. I'll go over how to request sub-vendor pricing. But before we do that, does anyone have any questions? All right. Okay. Sorry, I thought I heard someone. Okay,
Okay.
so we will get started on creating a potential change order. All right. So to do so, we're going to come right over here and we're going to select owner PCO tasks. Then we will select create owner A PCO. Now you can see that I do have create owner B PCO, but that's not selectable. You do have the ability to have more than one owner on the job site. I only have one owner on this particular job. That's why I cannot select owner B. Once you select owner A PCO, you're just going to fill out these two areas. Now the PCO name, this is for your own internal records. This isn't going to show up on the report. This isn't something that the customer is going to see. Okay. So for my potential change order, I'm going to request pricing from our sub. The client is thinking about adding a living wall. So we'll put in our PCO name here, and then we're going to put in our description. Now, the description itself, this is visible. This is what the owner is going to see. This is what's going to populate on the PCO itself. So you can put in as much information as you'd like. And then here you do have the ability to enter, your extension of time. Now this number, let's say, I think this is going to, extend it by 180 days or so. This is not going to change my project schedule if I do have a project schedule created. This does not speak to the project schedule. This is just for informational purposes. Okay. Once you've filled out these three areas, we are going to select Create PCO. All right. So now, if we are going to submit this to the architect, you can see I do have an architect review date. I can put that in here. If not, to build out our PCO, to add our cost codes, we are going to select Add Item 1 Cost. Yeah. That is going to populate at first a list of all of the cost codes in my project. And then down here, additional cost codes that I don't have in my project. Right. So to add the cost codes that you want to use for this PCO, you're simply going to click the cost code and then click the blue arrow. Okay. There we go. All right. Once you have those cost codes in here, we are going to select add cost items. And now we can put in our cost. All right. So .L, you all remember this stands for labor, my self-performing labor. .O stands for other, and .S stands for subcontractor. That means I intend on subbing this work out. You can see that the sub/vendor is filled out as myself, Red Team Go Concierge, for the self-performing labor and the contingency, but it's automatically filling out everything subcontractor for this .S cost code. And that's because the particular cost code that I selected is one that I am already using in this project. It is a cost code that I already have contracted with this particular subcontractor. Now, if I were to add another cost code, so let's come over here, and I select from a list of bid items not in job, you'll see that it populates, even though it's a .S cost code, to show my name. And that's because I do not have a subcontractor selected for this cost code, whereas I already do for this one. Okay, does that make sense to everyone? If it doesn't, please feel free, raise your hand, put it in the chat. We're here to help. I don't want this to be a lecture. I want this to be a discussion. So please feel free to ask questions. Alrighty, so before I request pricing, because I do need to know, how much is this going to cost, I'm going to fill out my costs. All right, so I'm going to put in my self-performing labor, my contingency items, right over here in the owner price. Okay. Now, for the sub price, I'm not subbing out this work because it's a .L cost code, my self-performing, and this is .O for other contingency. I'm not subbing this out but I want you to view this column also as my budgeted column, right? So when we go into our budget, this is my owner's price column, and this is my current column, my budgeted column. So yes, I'm going to charge the customer $4,500 for each of these line items, and I'm also going to budget $4,500 for these line items. Okay. All right. Now let's say paving. I know I don't need to request pricing. I already know how much paving is going to cost. Okay. I'm going to pay my sub for paving, let's say 50,000, right? Make sure we put that in the sub vendor cost. We'll select who our paver is later. Now for the owner cost, if I want to submit paving to my owner as 50,000, that's the price I'll put in here. But now if I want to fluff this number a little, let's say I don't want it to be 50,000. Let's say I want it to be 55. I'll put in 55,000. Okay. So 55,000 here, because this is how much I want to present paving as to my owner, but 50,000 because this is how much I actually anticipate paying my sub. Okay. Does that make sense to everyone? Again, if it doesn't, please feel free to use the chat. Alrighty. Okay. So we are going to send out a request for pricing for this cost code, but before we do that, I want to touch on our markups over here. Okay. So I've got my labor burden markup. Okay. 30% only applying to .L cost codes. Okay. This is my labor burden. It's only going to apply to my self-performing labor. You can see that it's showing 30% here, but we are not calculating a markup for any of the other cost codes. Okay. Then I've got my sales tax. Okay. I'm not marking up sales tax on my .Ls, my .Os, my .Ss. So that is showing up as a zero calculation. Okay. I've got my general liability, my overhead, and my profit. Right. So now I've got my pricing in here. I still need to request pricing on this cost code. So I'm going to save and then return to my PCO list. Now, before I send out a pricing request to my sub, we all saw what I put in there as my description for the change order. If you want to edit the scope of work, give your sub a little additional information for when they go to bid on this. I want to show you how you're going to do that, okay? So you're going to first drop this down. We want to expand our change order or our PCO. And then we're going to click this amount right here. Okay, that's 0 because it's lined up with everything subcontractor, which is that .S specialties cost code. So I'm going to click that. Red team will bring this up. Okay, this is where, see how it says sub change order description. This is where if you want to put in a scope of work, you want to be a little bit more detailed than this to your subcontractor, you have the ability to do that here. Okay. All right, so once you enter that information here, we are going to save it. All right. So now if we are ready to send out the request for pricing, we are going to check the PCO, and then we are going to go to request sub-vendor pricing. We're going to get our pop-up. Red team's going to ask, who do you want to invite? Obviously, I want to invite everything subcontractor, and then I'm going to select send checked PCO invites. Now for paving, let me show you something. If, let's say, because I did say I already knew how much the cost would be. If I did want to invite someone to paving, I do have the ability to do that. You just need to click that link like I did, and then Red Team is going to show all of my subcontractors that have the ability to bid on this cost code for paving. Okay, so if you know that the subcontractor is entered inside of Red Team Go, but they're not showing up on this list, what you'll want to do is navigate on over to them in contacts and make sure you add this cost code or the associated trade to their profile. That will then allow them to populate here. Okay. All right. So we're going to select who we want to invite, and this is how easy it is to invite our subs to bid on a project. Okay, as I'm selecting them, sorry about that. It's adding them to the list in the background. See them here? Okay. All right. When you're ready to send out this invitation, we're going to check them and select send PCO invites. Okay. Here's your subject. You can change it. Okay. It can be as detailed as you'd like. And then here's the body of the email. All right. Once you're ready, you're just going to select the blue button for send PCO invites and red team. Oh, whoops. Sorry about that, everyone. Let me do that one more time. I'm just going to leave this as is right now. I'm sorry about that. Let me double check something. Just checking to see if maybe it did go through and I'm getting the error, but it's not a true error. Right, let me log out real quick, everyone. Sometimes that helps. Just check this one for now. Okay, that worked. All right. Okay, let me just check all of these. Okay, all right. So it works for one. I wonder if there's an issue with one of my contacts for the others. I will look into that for everyone. But it did go through to my other subcontractors, so let's go look at that real quick. Okay. So I sent out a request for pricing to one of my subs once my project was in progress as a PCO. This is the email that they received. Okay. Shows that it comes from me. If they reply to this, I'm going to receive this email. Okay. So if they reply to me, I'm going to get this email in my inbox as well as within Red Team. So if I leave on vacation and another project manager has to manage my project and they come back a week later, they can always scroll on down right here to email within each project, go to PCOs. Okay. Oh, I guess all of those emails did go through. Um, but this is where they'll be able to check to see if an email was sent. And once the email that my subcontractor sent me goes through our mail server, it will show up here. And I will let this refresh and we'll come back to this. And here, let me see if it came through yet. It's going to be one of these. Okay, let it go through because I do know that it needs to go through our MailChimp, but it will show up here. So let me show you what the subcontractor will need to do. Okay, so if the sub clicks this link, it's going to bring them to Red Team Go. Once they log into Red Team Go, they will navigate over to PCOs, select the project, okay? And then if they select view/price, all right. Here's the scope of work that I added for them. Okay, and this is where they're going to submit their price. They'll put in the cost here. They can enter the amount of days that they believe it'll extend the project by. And then they'll select submit price. If they have any comments, they can add them here. But once they're done, they'll select submit price. Project manager will receive an email. And then that PCO cost is going to populate for you right over here. So if we come into the PCOs again and we drop this down, there you go. Okay, so if I click into here, you can see that Red Team has already populated the amount that my subcontractor has submitted. Right? Now, if I want to add this amount to my PCO, I'm going to select export. Right? All that does is fill it out for me. So if I go into my PCO now, you can look, the amounts that I pre-filled out are here, and now Red Team has populated the amount that my subcontractor has submitted. Right? Now again, this is my owner's column. So this is the price to my owner, and then this is the price that I'm paying my sub. Right? So now if I want to increase this value to the owner, I'm going to make that change here and only here, but I will not, but I will not change it here. Right? Once we're done here, we can select save. Now, if you want to attach anything to this, if you have any renderings, anything, any drawings, you can come right over here to attach documents. Select choose file, and you can upload. Let's say we've got some drawings. We can attach that to our PCO. Right? Now, once this has been attached, if we're ready and we want to send this out to the owner, I'll show you the different options that you have. Now, selecting post on site is going to make this potential change order visible on the owner's dashboard if they log into the Red Team Go portal, I mean. And selecting post on site is also going to email the owner. Okay, so if I select post on site, Red Team will populate this. I can change the subject if I want to. I can change the body of the email if I want to. Red Team is not sending it to the subcontractor. Don't check to send it to the subcontractor unless you absolutely want to. Personally, you should wait until the owner approves the change order, but they're not selected. You would have to manually check them. Okay. Now, this is what Red Team is going to send. Okay. So it has the description that I entered, the amount, and that's it. Now, if the owner wants a breakdown of what this entails, all you have to do is select that checkbox. Selecting that checkbox is going to keep this cover page. And if we scroll on down, it's going to include a breakdown of everything. Okay. So it's going to include the cost code, the amount, and the markups. All right. If you're ready to send it, we're just going to select post notify PCO. Okay. So I'm going to show you what the owner sees and how they can interact with it. But I want to show you some other options as well. If you want to also email the owner, using your email, you can check this box and come to owner PCO tasks. And then we have those documents that we're sending to the owner. You can actually print them for yourself. Okay. So if you like that worksheet with all of the cost codes in it, you'll select print checked owner PCO worksheets. It's going to give you the worksheet. If you just want that cover page, you're going to select print checked owner PCOs. If you want a one sheet that's kind of a blend between those two sheets, then you're going to select print checked owner change order request. So it's a little mixture of both, right? It gives you the description, it gives you the cost codes, and it gives you what the markups are, but it doesn't lay it out the same exact way. So those are your options that you can print if you want to email them outside of Red Team. All right. So let's go look at what I just sent to my owner. So here is the PCO. Here's the email that they received. They've got this document that we attached. Okay. All they have to do is click this link. It's going to bring them to Red Team. They do need to then navigate over to the PCO tile card. Select the project. Okay. And then they can print it just that page. They can view whatever I attach, my drawings, and then they have the ability to approve or reject. Now, the approval / rejection is not required, okay? They have the ability to come in here. They can say, I approve it, I reject it, or they can just ignore this. And what I mean is that it's not required is that if your owner forgets to do this, or they're just not using a computer at the moment, this is not going to stop you from converting this PCO to a change order. Okay, so it's not required, but they do have the ability to come over here and say, oh, yep, I approve it. This is a good price, approved, and submit the response. That's just going to shoot an email to the project manager, letting the project manager know that the PCO has been approved. All right. Now, once we have an approved PCO, this is when we'll want to come over to change orders. Now, we're not going to have to do all of that work that we just did all over again. This is much simpler. Instead, we're going to come over here to owner change order tasks and select create owner a change order. Give it a name. Again, this name, same as the PCO, is just for you. Okay. Select create CO. All right, and now we're going to import PCO costs. All right, so if you had multiple PCOs, you could come in here and this is how you would combine them all into one change order. So you would add one and then come over here, select the next one and add it and so on. All right, so I imported my PCO and all of my costs is here. All right, when I'm ready to send it to my customer, we're going to select save. We're going to return to our change order list. And then we're going to check this box, go to owner change order tasks, and I recommend signing the change order. Sign it because once you sign it, it automatically emails the owner. Okay, select I agree, and there you go. Automatically emails the owner, emails your accountant, lets them know that this document has been signed. If you signed it, and then the owner realizes, hey, I need you to change it, whatever it is. All you need to do is come over here to administration, go to unlock, unsign, and then you're going to unapprove / unassign the change order, owner change order. You have the ability to unsign and remove the signature of anyone that works for your organization. All right, so any of your PMs or your accountants, they sign something, you can remove the signature so that you can edit it. You are just unable to remove the signature of an owner, of a subcontractor, of anyone outside of your organization. So if the owner, let's say, signs it, and then they realize, oh, I need you to change it, you can't unsign it. But you could always reach out to your CSM, reach out to your implementation specialist, or reach out to chat right over here. Let them know, hey, my owner needs me to remove his signature. And then all we'll need is a copy and paste of an email from the owner giving us that permission. Okay. But you do have the ability, just wanted to show you, to come in here, like I was saying, and remove your signature if you ever need to. Because I know sometimes clients don't like to, sign things first just in the event they need to make a change. If you do, just want to reiterate, come right over here and you can always unsign it. Okay. Okay. Let me show you what the owner sees, but let me also show you how you can send this to the customer outside of Red Team. Okay. So first let's navigate over to what our customer is looking at. Here's the email. Here's the link. Okay. They're going to come right over here to change orders, go to the project and select view / sign. Okay. I have an AIA contract or subscription. I'm sorry. So my change orders are AIA change orders. If any of you have an active AIA subscription and you don't have access to the AIA change orders in Red Team Go, just have your accountant or whoever has paid for the AIA subscription send to your CSM a copy of the subscription and the expiration date. We'll be able to turn this on for you. Okay. So with the AIA subscription, inside of Red Team, you'll get access to AIA change orders and AIA billing. You'll also get access to AIA substantial completion. Okay. You will no longer have access to AIA owner contracts or AIA subcontract agreements inside of Red Team. Yeah, that's changed this year with a change directly from AIA. All right, but here's my change order, and this is how easy it is for my owner to sign. They're just going to select digitally sign this document. I agree. Okay. And we've got a signed change order. Fully executed by all parties. My signature, their signature. Okay. Just refresh. Okay, you can see it's been approved. All right, now we can drop it down and we can see, well, I've got a change order now for my subcontractor, right? So for my sub, I'm going to check this checkbox right here and go to sub change order tasks. Same thing, we're going to sign it. I agree and send it. There you go. Same thing if the subcontractor is like, hey, I quoted you the wrong price or something, whatever the reason is. If you need to remove your signature, you'll select your name, go to the administration menu, and then go to unlock unsign, and you'll be able to remove your signatures there. Okay. All right, so this is what my sub sees. Okay, here's the email. They'll click the link, come right over to change orders, select the project. Okay, and then same thing. He can select sign change order, or he can go to view/print. This is his change order. Okay. Select I agree. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so everything has been signed. Now my subcontractor has signed his change order. My owner has signed their change order. Let me show you how you can send things outside of Red Team. So everything that I've sent to them, if I check this box and I go to owner change order task, I can print. So I can print my owner change order. So I can download this and email it to him outside of Red Team. I can print that worksheet. Okay. So remember, if it says worksheet, it's going to show all of the cost codes and it's going to show all of your markups. Okay. And then I'm going to show you one other document, budgets. If you are marking up the value, here, let me show you first. If you send the budgets report to your customer is going to see how much you're paying your subs versus how much you're charging the owner. Okay, so it's going to show literally your budget, your budgeted amount. Okay, so I just want you to keep that in mind. This is not something that Red Team sends them. You would have to select and send this to them yourself. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. So those are your reports. That's how you will send them out to your owner for signature, your subcontractor for signature. I want to show you one other thing. Let me show you how to do a deducted change order. Okay. So, and also how we'll handle owners that approve outside of Red Team. So if I go to create owner a change order, I'm just going to create a deducted change order here. I'm not going to create it as a PCO because the owner has told me that he verbally approves it and he's going to sign in and return the document to me in a few days. Okay. So I'm going to give it a name and then we're just going to build this out real quick. Okay. So we're going to add a credit. Let's do it on doors, frames, and hardware. Add cost. Okay. So I want to refund the customer $2,000. So to do that, I'm going to put negative. Make sure you're putting that negative symbol in there. Don't just put in 2000. Put in negative 2000. Okay. Same thing over here, negative 2000. Okay, because I'm going to budget. I'm going to remove that 2000 from my budget. Now, if you are doing a deductive change order, I want you guys to clear out your markups. Okay, I'm just giving him $2,000. I don't need to give him more than that. All right, so just pay attention if you're doing a deductive change order, pay attention to the markups. There you go. Zeroed it all out. It's only $2,000. All right, we're going to select save, return to change order list. Okay. All right. So let's say I've got a customer where it does not matter if I email this to them. I know, if I use Red Team, they're not going to use it. So instead, I'm going to check it. I'm going to print my change order, going to download this PDF, and then I'm going to email it to him. When he approves it, because he's not using Red Team to approve it, you are going to come into the change order and you're going to select approve right here. If you do not click approve, this is not going to show up on their next bill, or it's not going to give you the ability to add it to their next bill. Okay, so make sure that if they are signing outside of Red Team, that you click approve here. And then once they do get that signature to you, or even if it's an email where they replied, yes, I approve, come down here to project documents, go to your change orders, owner change orders, and I want you to import that signature or that approval right here. And import. All right. Okay. So yes, that was the last thing I wanted to show you guys. All right, so we've gone over potential change orders, change orders. Do you guys have any questions? Any scenarios that you would like me to play out and show everyone? All right. Well, I do want to thank all of you for joining us today. Um, If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. You can reach out to your CSM. If you don't know who your client success manager is, use the search function or use the chat function inside of Red Team Go and ask. They can find out for you. All right. You can always use the chat function as well if you have any questions in Red Team. So you all have a wonderful day. And again, thank you for joining us today.